Howdy folks, Keywii here, and welcome back to Analogue, a hate story. My throat is still sort of clearing up, so, there's going to be a little bit of that. Welcome back to a safe space in which be awesome, where we're going to continue our delightful, delightful story. So we last left off here, which was, it seems in the year, I've been visiting my parents, everything. Oh, right. Okay, so then we go to the next one. Dear Diary, the good news is, health-wise, I seem to be doing much better this month. I'm sure this isn't a permanent thing, it happened before. I can't really remember how the doctor from the past explained it anymore, but he said it was pretty normal, and not something to get my hopes up about. Well, that's really discouraging. Still, some days this month, I actually had enough energy to want to move around. Not that I could move around, of course. I can't leave the house. A good girl shouldn't, is what everyone keeps saying, but I have the energy to, at least, and that's something. The big news is that the woman who's supposed to be my adopted mother came back. The big news. I read good mentally, and I don't know why. I didn't really see her much before she left. I might as well have been meeting a new person. I wish I could say I had high hopes for her, that I had thought that maybe she'd be fine. That'd be a lie, though. I knew she'd be as bad as the rest the moment I saw her. And of course, and she was, of course, she was. She wasn't, she's even worse than sister-in-law. She gives those awful lectures. I can't even describe them. They're that horrible. She's that horrible. Well, you got nothing to say, so next one. If you're so worried, why don't you just explain everything to her simply and rationally? Hyung-soo asked me. My response was, she's a woman, we're not practically rational. Particularly rational. He said, you know what I mean, I could hardly do it, but coming from a woman, perhaps she will understand that it's all for her own good. Maybe, I said, doubting it. But I tried anyway. She took her time arriving after I summoned her to my room. Can we speak? I asked her, trying to keep my voice calm. She glared, then snapped, fine. I asked her to sit down, but she refused. Look, I said, trying to speak to her as an equal. I still didn't think my husband was right, but it was worth trying. I've been told you'd rather be called Hyun-ai, is that right? She said yes, bitterly, not giving me much to go off. That's a very pretty name, I said. Thanks, she said, but her voice was still unfriendly. My parents gave it to me, I said. You must miss them very much, she nodded. I don't understand, Hyun-ai, were you so difficult with them too? No, she said. They were nice, they actually cared about me. They're nothing like you people. I sighed. I care about you, Hyun-ai. I don't know how to do that last syllable, and there's a note on it, but I don't care enough to read it. You're part of the family. You're a Kim. Your parents are our ancestors, and I know they think it's very important that we raise you right. If you want to be a bad, unfilial daughter and treat us without any respect, well, you wouldn't be the first. Do you really think an old woman like me really cares that much about your opinion of me? I thought maybe I'd try appealing to her selfishness. Her marriage is important to the family, but clearly she doesn't care about filiality. It's you I'm worried about. Do you think any husband is really going to put up with the way you are, even for a second? She kept glaring at me. That's all you keep talking about. Marriage. I'm 14. I'm 14 years old. What's wrong with you? Why does everything have to be about some man? Why do I have to marry somebody that you pick? She screamed at me. I remained calm. You're going to be a royal concubine, Hyun-ai. We're not dumping you off on just anyone. There's no better man. I don't know if you were already engaged in the past, but your parents would do the same if they could. It's what's best for you. They would want this. No, they wouldn't, she shrieked. They wouldn't. They wanted me to grow up. They wanted me to be an independent woman. That's what mom and dad thought was important. I don't want to be a concubine. I don't care about marriage. An independent woman? They wanted you to be a whore? No, that's also not what they meant. I asked. My patience ran as thin as anyone's would be. I didn't believe for a second my husband's ancestors were the monsters she was making them to be, and was sick of this. Get out, I snapped at her. Just get out. This is, horrible, but very amusing. Very amusing to read about. Are you just showing me that because you want to see more from her? No, that's not why. Yeah, I didn't think so. I don't know what to say. She was cruel. So cruel. Now that I've read her perspective, it doesn't change anything. Fine, she actually believed what she was saying. That doesn't make all of it right. I hate her. I don't care if she's long dead. I don't care if I was the one who did it. I still hate her. I got revenge, but fuck her anyway. Hate her, and you repeat yourself, and then you scream at the end. You know, kind of like a child, but it's childish anyway. Jeez, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to work myself up like that. It's just, you don't pity her, do you? I mean, I don't. Not really. Good, me neither. I mean, slightly, I guess, but more in the fact that I pity her entire generation of humans for actually believing this garbage. I mean, alright, let's talk philosophy for a second. So, I'm personally of the opinion that human morality and what's good and what's bad and what's right and what's wrong is entirely based on the time you ask a person what they think. In the year 2018, this is all very objectionable. It's all very wrong. It's all very things people disagree with. Specifically, in more modern countries. I'm not sure about actual North Korea. I know very little about real-life North Korea in 2018, but I assume it isn't this bad. They, from what I hear, really, respect intelligent people so that they can boast about it or something. I don't know. I'm not going to claim that I know anything. But, say, 300 years ago, things were very different. What was right and what was wrong was incredibly different compared to now. That doesn't mean I'm going to say that it was right. My opinion is based in my time. But, if I were living in that time, I would have a different opinion of what's right and wrong. What's good and bad is subjective. That is my actual opinion. It's based on humanity, and it's based on the time that humans think that. I'm not going to try and justify any of those things because, they go against my actual morality now, but my morality and my idea of what morality is are actually separate things, if you can believe that. So, yeah, what I believe of the world is not what everyone believes, even now, and it's not what anyone will believe in the future. It's not what anyone has believed in the past. People have different opinions, and it's all subjective. Literally, all human thought is subjective. So, while I don't pity her as a person for her actions, I do pity her as a woman in that time for being so misguided based on my opinion of what morality is. I hope that makes sense. Now, tangent over. That's what I had to live with, reading what she wrote. She honestly believed that. Soon. Just reminds me of how I ended up thinking, how I completely gave up and believed her attitude. Ugh. Yeah, because human behavior is learned. It isn't innate. It's learned from everything around you, growing up, bombarding you constantly. And especially from your actual parents. She tried to wear me down, she succeeded, she doesn't deserve pity, and I didn't deserve what she did to me. I could never forgive her, ever. Even if I'm the murderer. I'm really glad you understand. Sorry, I've calmed down now, it's just hard to think about, even now. I really do hate her. Well, I mean, I might be interjecting slightly, but I have yet to have a person who I've actually hated die. So I don't know what I'd think of them. And especially if I were the murderer. I've never once murdered a human being before. So I don't know. I don't know how I'd feel on the matter. I'd like to think that I'd feel differently about it. If you're so worried. You're still blue. You're still blue here, too. Okay, Hyung Suk's wife, dearest mother, my mother-in-law has relieved me of my responsibility for looking after the pale bride. As a matter of pride, I feel bad that a simple child is too much for me to handle, but I'm certainly glad she's not my problem anymore. Get that bitch out of here! Now I can put my undivided attention back where it belongs, under my husband and his ambitions. Tell me though, mother, because I know we didn't always get along that well. I was never that bad, was I? Sure, we were both happy when I moved out. Well, perhaps I wasn't happy right away. I was more scared. But I'm sure you were relieved to have some space. But you would have never given up on me, right? I was never that bad, was I? Deep down, I worry. My husband seems content to take his time to have children, and which is a decision I can certainly live with. But what about when we do? What if we have a daughter and I fail with her too? I've been telling myself that it's not me, it's her. She's a peculiarly unruly child, and is not ordinarily that bad. It's not, right? Please tell me I have nothing to worry about, please? Alright, let's see what you got on this matter. You know, I never did like her. Really? Is that... I haven't gotten that impression. Well, when I woke up, she was this awful person who kept saying the most awful things. Never as bad as Mother, but still. I didn't read any of her letters when I was alive, of course, but you know what really surprised me? She made such an awful impression on my life. I hated her the most for so long, and she barely even noticed me. All my suffering, it was just a minor distraction to her, nothing more insignificant compared to her man. I sigh. That's one more from her that you should... there's one more from her that you should read. I don't know how to feel about it. I don't know how to feel about her. There's just one thing that I keep thinking, though. Just one thing. I have no idea what her name it was. Oh, shit. Yeah, because nobody fucking even said names back then. The new anxiety. Oh, yeah, right. Drastic measures. See what you have to say on the matter, my friend. Pale Bride picked the worst of all possible days to throw another one of her childish fits, refusing to even get dressed for her interview. And this one was with the Emperor himself. Not even my husband was able to get her to listen. He had to personally apologize himself for not being able to bring her as scheduled, and lied about a sudden illness. Oh, a sudden illness, huh? You have to do something about her, I said to my husband that evening. She's completely out of control. I know, he said. That is quite clear. He looked so worried, I hugged him and tried to comfort him. Everything would fall apart if something couldn't be done. She'd threatened to say something stupid and dangerous to the Emperor, and we were both scared that she might. Maybe it's time to consider doing something drastic, I said to him. He nodded. I know, he said. I can only think of one idea. I do not like it. I would rather not. Even hitting her was far worse than I would have wanted. Is it just violence? I'm not sure what the implication is here. He explained his idea to me, and I agreed that it was terrible, and I didn't like it either, but it would stop her from arguing, stop her from... Oh shit, did they fucking take her voice out? I was wondering about that. My husband was, as always, right. There was only one way. Oh shit! There was one big fight I had with her, the one that changed everything, the one I finally lost. My diary makes it sound really dramatic, I know. I was young at the time, but it really was. Just read it. It's exactly how it went. Did they literally rip out your voice cords? Because that ain't no good. Oh, it's on the same day, huh? Okay, alright. Dear Diary, everything that managed to spiral out of control so quickly today. I wasn't planning on it happening this way, but here's the point where I make my stand, I guess. It sounds dramatic. You know, I just realized, if the future people are using Chinese, then are they not based through North Korea anymore? Future politics doesn't matter. But here's the point where I make my stand, I guess. It sounds dramatic, but I won't let them marry me off to some stranger. I won't let them. Just before dinner yesterday, Mother told me that I had to do an interview. I had to go do an interview with some man, the Emperor, I guess, for all I care. The way she put it was, I'd get a chance to see that he's a man you could fall in love with, or something stupid like that. As if, I said in response, and I spent the rest of the evening thinking about what I could possibly do to make it clear I wouldn't let them do this. This morning, after breakfast, sister-in-law showed up in my room. Good morning, she says. Today's a big day for you, isn't it? Mother-in-law wanted me to help you get dressed and all made up. You'll want to make a good first impression, after all. I glared at her and summoned up all my courage. No, I said. What? She asked. No, I'm not going. I would love to reiterate that when a new person speaks, you do a new paragraph to avoid confusion. This is how writing works. She left, and Mother herself came in. This was it, I told myself. This was the big moment. I'm not going, I said before she could say anything. I'm not going to get dressed up, I'm not going to meet him, and I'm definitely not going to get married, I shouted. For a moment she said nothing and didn't move. Then she left too without saying a word. I thought that would feel good, but it didn't. It just made me worry more. I couldn't have possibly won that easily, I thought. And I hadn't, of course. After a few minutes, she returned with Father, who looked incredibly angry. Min Hyung says you're refusing to get ready for your interview, he said. Yeah, I stammered, not used to talking to him. I won't go. I won't get married. He walked over. Yes, you will. Okay. He walked over in just 2 strides and then glared at me for a second. I had no idea what he was going to do. Then he slapped me in the face so hard it knocked me over. Yes, you will, he said. I'll drag you there kicking and screaming if I have to. My face was in so much pain, I forced myself to sit back up. I won't, I said, bracing myself for if he hit me again. He did. Yes, you will, he said. I couldn't keep this up. It already hurt so much. I couldn't just brave that out. Then it came to me. If you make me do the interview, I said, I'll tell the Emperor that you've been conspiring behind his back. It was all I could think of, and all I could do was cross my fingers and hope that the threat worked. It had to. He glared at me, and in that moment, I knew it worked. The two of them looked at each other, and then they both left together. That was 3 hours ago. I don't know what's going to happen now, and I think my face is swollen. It still hurts. And I didn't want it to go that way, so that's me, making my stand. Yeah, he's, beating up a fucking sick kid. Man of the year right there. I'll get to that, but for now, please just look at everything else first. Okay, sure. Peace at last, the new promise. So, are you gonna unlock that one? That'd be great. Recently, the Pale Bride's temperament has improved immensely. It isn't simply that she's now quiet, it's that she's actually respectful and calmer. So, the message that we missed is the most important one. Cool, I'm glad when that happens. After rescheduling, she had an interview with the Emperor, and he was actually quite charmed with her. I'm just so happy for her own sake that she's finally stopped resisting the marriage. God, something fucking happened. It's all coming together now. A date has been set for when she'll be sent to live with him, and in the meanwhile, wait, hang on. What's the passage of time between those two? 2:14, 3:21. I'm curious about something here. Hang on. Oh no. Did they leave her in isolation for a fucking long time? Because, my god, would that be horrible. To reschedule, well, I mean, not more horrible than what we've already seen, but whatever. He was actually quite charmed with her. I'm just so happy for her own sake. So I'll go meet together now. A date has been set. She'll be sent to live with him. And in the meantime, things at home have been peaceful again for everyone. Actually, it's better than just that. I've been spending more time with her of her own free will. Did you get a lobotomy or something? I don't know what the fuck happened. Which is the sort of the point, but giving her advice for coping with marriage, and now the girl actually listens politely. Otherwise, there is little else to write about. I wish there had been a better way to get her to behave, but in the end, it seems to be working out. I still can't imagine how awful it would be if she refused to ever leave the house and simply made life hell for us. Or worse, if she got sent off and tried to pull any of that on her husband. She'd get sent back for sure. Maybe now things will finally start to come together for the family. I must admit, for a time, I doubted the optimism that Hyung-soo expressed in the 319th year, but now it seems that he was right all along. What a relief! What a relief! Of her own free will. I can't believe she actually said that. It's wrong. It's completely wrong. I can't believe she actually, she could have possibly thought that. Just unbelievable. Okay, well, let's read let's see what we got. No, it's still gone. It's still missing, so I'm just so blatantly curious about what's going on. Today, the Pale Bride finally left home to live with her husband, and as she isn't a primary wife, there was no fanfare ceremony for her departure itself, so instead last night she had a special big feast to commemorate. I know I've said bad things about her before, but it's not just that I was happy to see her gone. She's been better since mother and father-in-law managed to get her to keep quiet. The thought of it still leaves me really uncomfortable. She was always just a confused child. I hate the fact that the family considers her so important and neglects my husband. And I certainly hate her for not appreciating that status and fighting it. But the fact that she doesn't understand the world, I can feel for that. It's not like I always understand myself. Regardless, it went very well. She's going to probably talk to me after this. The big feast was my idea. And she was really happy to help with the cooking earlier. She had spent the afternoon getting ready the dress she was going to wear when she arrived with mother-in-law, and she seemed really anxious about it. While we cooked, I opened the wine early and poured it for her. I think she needed it. There it is. Okay. I told her the same story I told you a while ago about how scared I was when I first moved in. It seemed as though it was a lifetime ago, and yet despite all the strangeness, I have grown so accustomed to it. You'll eventually grow to love him, I promised her, just as you promised me all those years ago. I appreciate how good you'll have it. Okay, let's see what you have to say on this map. You've read almost everything now. I know you've had faith in me, and I promise it hasn't been misplaced. There's just one more thing. I don't think you'll be surprised. You seem smart, I'm sure. I'm sure you've already guessed what it is. I've had a couple guesses, and I'm so curious. Still, go ahead. Ask it. Ask me the obvious question. Ooh. Yes, I would like to ask you the question. Go ahead. Ask it. Ask me the obvious question. I don't know how, apparently. Type the document ID and press enter to search. Oh, wait. Oh, ooh. Is that how I get it? Oh, I wouldn't know. Alright, so it's the end of the episode, and normally I would call it here, but this seems like a little bit of story that I kind of want to get into right now. So I'll pause it and look up how to ask the question, because I don't want to sit around here for 15 minutes. I'll be back. Right, so I've returned, and the dude who was playing it that I watched, it's basically the end of the series. So what I'm going to do is, this is the finale episode, I've just now decided. So what I do is, before, when I was reading through these, they lit up blue again. I can ask her a question again. So apparently that's what I'm supposed to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do that and see what happens. How did the big fight end? That's what you're asking, right? I am asking that. Or maybe you're asking, how did it change everything? How was that the most important thing? Maybe you want to know how bad it could have been that it made me think the whole family deserved to die. Well, if you haven't already guessed, here's my last diary entry. Just I can't say it myself. Can't bring myself to even now. Please just read it. Okay. This forever silenced. That's what I thought would happen. Dear Diary, the evening where everything went wrong. Oh, it's only 4 pages. Where I thought I was going to win with my adopted parents. Well, I didn't. I lost. Making my stand, I wrote, just hours before it happened. Yeah, right. When I got called into the kitchen, they were both there. On one of the stove burners, there was a knife. I thought it was a little bit odd, but I didn't care. Father stared at me. Yeah, that's a bad thing. Oh, boy. Father stared at me and said, the fighting needs to end now. He was so sure of himself. Of course he was. He had every reason to be, but I stubbornly stood my ground. I said no. I don't want to hurt you, he lied. That was such a casual reading of that. Just promise to be less argumentative, and this can end peacefully, but I just had to fight back. I just had to say no. I just had to remind him I wasn't joking. I really will tell the Emperor that you hurt me, and that you plotted against him. No, he said, you won't. He motioned at Mother and said, bring her over. She grabbed me, and I tried to dig my feet in, but it didn't work. I was too feeble and weak for being sick with a life-threatening illness. Then Father pinned me against a wall with his whole body, the entire thing. I'm sorry, this is a really bad scene, but it's just so amusing. And I kicked and screamed, desperately trying to get free, but it was no use. He was big, and I was small and sick and weak and frail. Then he grabbed the knife from the stove, and I shrieked in horror. No, I screamed at him, don't. But then Mother grabbed my mouth and held it open. I tried to keep screaming, but I was powerless and terrified. When he raised the knife towards me, I thought he was going to kill me. It was worse. The next thing I knew, I could taste disgusting flesh. As he stuck his fingers in my mouth and pulled, I'm sorry, Mother said. Then briefly I could taste the steel, then nothing but blood. All I could taste was so much blood. Nothing but blood. Finally, they both let go of me, and I collapsed onto the floor. Why, I wanted to say, but couldn't. I blacked out from the pain after that. But just before I did, I could swear I heard Father say, "You will not ever argue with any man again." He was right, of course. Ooh, do I go here? I'm gonna go here. That's why. That's why I gave up. That's why I wanted to kill them so much. That's... Sorry, it's really hard to talk about. It's just I try, I'm sorry. I told you it'd make sense, right? That there was a good reason? Please tell me you don't think I've let you down. You haven't. I haven't? You don't mean you mean you understand then? Well, yes, I do. That was an incredibly horrible, traumatic experience, I assume. So yeah. Oh, thank you so much. That means so much to me. I'm so glad. I don't know what I'd do if you didn't think, well, thank you. Thank you so much. Geez, stop thanking me. I was so terrified, I thought you might not. I'm so glad. Thank you. Thank you so much. This is why it sort of pulls out of it a little bit. What the hell? There's nothing there anymore. Hey, could we just talk a little more instead? Okay, this is what I assume is the end of the game. There's, something really important I need to, tell you. Sure. What's up? Right, it's a really strong feelings about... It's not like I've been pouring my heart out to you, because I really think you're a good person. I consider you to be a really good listener. Jeez, I'm in love with you! Ah! Finally said it. Ah, this is so embarrassing. I know, it's that... I'm being really silly, right? I mean, geez, I'm sure I know that you're thinking, right? You think it's ridiculous. Alright, well, here's the moment. Here's the moment that I assumed was coming this entire time, where she confessed her love. It's a visual novel, obviously it's gonna fucking happen. So, the question becomes, do I go for it or do I not go for it? The startling revelation of how she lost her voice, or more accurately, the horrible description of how, because I sort of assumed that's how, they just took her voice somehow. I figured it'd be a little, you know, more surgical, I guess. My mistake. But, yeah, that was a horrible thing that, you know, I don't wish on anyone at all. And she had to endure that. And that's fucking horrible is what that is. So, what I see here is I see going from that immediately to she was just like, that was a horrible experience, I bet you don't understand, and I do. And then the pacing shifts immediately from somber and, you know, sort of, you know, sympathetic to really happy and energetic, and it was a awkward shift to say the least. So, right, but that's not the point here. The point is, what's going on here is that she's confessing her love to me. Oh no, it happened, and you think that's ridiculous? I'm sure I know what you're thinking, right? You think that's ridiculous? I'm gonna say no here because I mean, you know, the pacing is already screwed up. So fuck it, I'm in love with you. You don't? Well, that's why I'm in love, because you manage to happily surprise me every time. I never thought I would find someone who understands me, someone who listens, who would hear my whole life story and doesn't hate me. Oh, I get it, a hate story. Ah, that's actually very amusing. You really have been wonderful. I know, it's a lot to spring on someone just like that. And I don't even know if you're even a man or the sort of woman who wouldn't have a problem with that, and still unmarried. But if you are, do you think we might have a chance together? Even just a chance? Fuck it. Sure. That is truly the most amazing thing I've ever heard in my life. Thank you. Thank you so much. I think you're not in love with me. You're in love with the idea of somebody who just doesn't fucking treat you like shit. I've been sort of thinking about this for a while. A little bit embarrassing, I know, but, well, we don't have to rush to get married or anything. I mean, you know how scary it was the last time I was alive. I'd just really like to just be with you as an equal. Does that sound right to you? Fuck it, why not? Wonderful. Oh, I really do. I really, really do love you. It's funny, isn't it? I know almost nothing about you. I have no idea what you look like. I have no idea how you talk. I have no idea of what's supposed to be the most important thing about a person, if you're a man or a woman. I have no idea how old you are, although I suppose you must be much younger. Than 600 years? Yeah, I'd say so. Maybe older, depending on how you look at it. Nor do I have any idea where you're from, or even your name. But I know that you take me seriously, that you understand me, that you don't treat me as something less than just for being a woman. I mean, that's certainly true. I know I know that talking to you makes me feel better than I've ever felt in my life. And that's good enough for me. And far better than I've ever had. Yeah, so you're just like the, well, fuck it. So, very well, I'll decompile myself now. That way you can just drop the to terminal and type download to copy everything to your ship, including myself. It should only take a few days to do a complete transfer. I'll see you soon, alright? So this is how Sojin felt on her wedding night. Neat. Alright. I even left the help thing there. That's cool. Download. Starting active systems download will permanently terminate session AI personality is available. Hunt Eye in addition to logs. Yes. Will be transferred. Preparing files for transfer. Now! Hey! I completed the game and didn't actually fuck up this time. Hey! Aw, that's adorable. And that's my hand. So, let's talk about what happened here. I do have to click? Oh, I sure do. Okay, so let's talk about this game as we go. So this was a visual novel, and usually I'm not into these sorts of things. It's just, I don't know. I mean, oh, fucking God, I was just about to talk. Good work on recovering the Mungkwai files. I just spoke to the sponsor's representative on the audio. He sounded really pleased with what you delivered. I've credited your account with a standard payment. Listen, I got another job lined up for you. It's on Earth, but it sounds to me like after the last job, you could use a change of pace. There's a man and woman named blank. Playtesting. Alright, so yeah, so fucking visual AI game, not generally into the visual novel. Doki Doki Literature Club was an exception, obviously. And this one I just decided to get because fucking Mother's Basement recommended it as an interesting thing. That I remember being a thing that happened, or it was just because of the name and it was really interesting. A hate story. What? That was amusing. So yeah, I don't know, I enjoyed this game. Regardless of all the fucking horrible content inside of it. Korean translation. Yeah, there's actual Korean in this game instead of just English, so that's neat. With white rabbit font. Hey, rabbit font. Sure. Ending 2. Completion rate this time. Total completion rate, 86%. Thanks for playing. You're welcome for playing. Thank you for making a game. I know that's usually difficult. Bonus content. The fuck? Expressions final. Okay, let's see here. Leaves home in the care of a new friend. The former bride falls in love for the first time. The investigator leaves alone. The security program is relieved of her duties. That's the mute ending. This is the one where I choose neither of them and say, fucking fuck these AIs, and I just sort of get the information and go. And this is an ending that I wouldn't know how to do. That's about fucking getting both the girls going. Right. Well, yeah, I'm gonna say, thank you guys so much for watching. Yeah, I'm not usually into these games, as I've said like 5 times at this point. But it was a fun experience. It was about North Korea in the future, which is real fucking weird. It was about getting married at 14, and the men were allowed to do whatever they want until they were fucking 70s, but women were all of a sudden too old at 26, which is really fucked up, if you think about that for even a slight second. And there was just so much fucked up in this game. There was so much. But I sort of had my apprehension going in Or rather, after I learned about a few things, I was like, okay, sort of deal. I mean, like, this is real fucked up. But then I gave it a complete pass when I realized, oh yeah, shit, this is North Korea, not South Korea in the future. And then I was like, well, alright, I guess I should expect fucked up. But, cough, cough. But, that'll have to be it for this series. I guess I had fun. Wouldn't really rate it as one of my top series, but whatever. It was about fucking dating an AI, which is just a thing for me, apparently. I love having relationships with AIs. It's the best. I enjoy it immensely. AIs all over the place. It's great. I don't know. I'm not even gonna talk about that. But that'll have to be it for this one. So thank you guys so much for joining for the series. For Analogue, a hate story. Don't know why it's called Analogue. That's a real weird one, but whatever. Thank you guys. You have yourself a delightful day, and I'll see you in the next one. Mwah. Don't ever change, because you're amazing people, and I love all of you. Goodbye.